It's an ambitious setup.
Yeah, especially for my sweet little laptop that gets very tired.
Okay, that's too much. Thank you. Alright, publish that bad boy. Yep. Cool. Go back to this call. We should be good to go. Alright, I will be right back. I'm gonna run to the bathroom real quick.
That's great. I also think I might zoom in on your DAW a little bit more.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you're chilling.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
Okay. How's everybody doing? Yo, you work out some music today? Hell yeah. Dude, it's hard to like keep up and do TikToks, produce songs, make songs, hang out with friends, live a life, not get burnt out. All the things. Yeah, TikTok is so interesting because it like can help so much. Also can be like, I just hate that there's a bunch of people who don't want to make a TikTok and make TikToks. It's not your fault, or my fault, or anybody's fault. It's kind of a bummer it has to be like that. Yeah, even today I'm like about to text my manager and be like, bro, let's take a break from sessions. I need to like, I was literally talking to Ifbound earlier about how I just like have all these songs that I owe people I need to finish. Like finishing songs is just as important as starting songs. It's also the hardest part. It takes the most discipline. So
Absolutely.
or yeah, he was talking about how he's like, we were talking about like he was doing production TikTok and how it's not his favorite thing to do, but it helps. And I was like, yeah, man, it's like. And then I was also saying how like it sucks though how there's some people that are like, I don't want to make a TikTok, but I'm making one. Like it shouldn't be. Like it sucks that like everyone feels like they have to. I don't know. It's crazy.
It's a weird environment for sure. Like having to play the social media game and it's like super, I don't know, short and sweet content, but to the point. It's like hard to put quality into it when it's like it's supposed to be so, I don't know, compact.
Yeah.
And it's like, especially as creators, you're used to like putting effort into long form quality content, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know.
The worst part is that it works. I wish it didn't work.
I know, exactly, yeah. It's like proven, which is kind of sucks, but
Yeah.
all right. So we out here. Let's see. Let me see if I can get a couple people real quick. Is that gonna pop up? No, we're good. Okay.
I'm gonna zoom in on your Logic screen a little more.
Okay. There you go. All right. Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna do a little breakdown stream today with the man, the myth, the legend, Kyle Reynolds. He's out here.
Hello.
We're gonna break down Good News today, which Kyle is singing on. Also did the songwriting for. Super stoked to break this one down. This one's actually like, man, I don't know if you feel this way as well, Kyle, but like this one is kind of a special one to me. I held on to it for a while, as you know.
Yeah.
And
this is like, when I remember like first getting the track, and as soon I remember I was like laying in my bed. I rarely listen to a track like on like my iPhone before, just because I want to get the full experience. But I just like pulled it up and I started hearing ideas immediately, and I was like, okay. And I just remember I threw it into my DAW, like the instrumental, immediately, and just started like recording vocal ideas. And we were like in the middle of the pandemic and all this stuff, and I was just like, okay, song is like not only to like the melodies I thought like felt good in your production, but like it also was super relevant with like what was going on. And so thank you for reaching out and for sending this, and I'm just super grateful to be a part of it. So
no, I couldn't have said it better. Like, that's a great way to kick this off. And it's cool that you mentioned it being the pandemic, because it's like I wrote it right at the beginning of the pandemic, and that's when you got it, was like right after I wrote it, or wrote the instrumental. But
that's crazy.
All right, let's jump into this bad boy. So I think the way I normally do, I've been doing the breakdowns for this. Is because I know you've done a couple of breakdowns as well, but I normally just kind of go through the track chronologically. Yeah,
that's usually what I do, like section by section, like verse, and then
got you
chorus. Yeah.
So I figure we'll just do that, and then we'll just kind of go with whatever catches our ear, and we'll just kind of speak on it. Also, if anyone wants to like, hear any particular parts or anything like that, let us know. Just let us know in the comments.
We are here to give away all our secrets.
Absolutely.
If you have any secrets, and like, anything you want to know, like, I feel like, because there's so many videos that I've seen or songs that I'm like, dude, I would love to know what they did. And like, that's the whole purpose of this. Yes, I want to hang out with you guys and all that stuff, but I think too, it's like, if there is a part of it or a production thing or vocal thing, whatever it is, we're super stoked to share that knowledge. And maybe we don't even know how we did it, but we'll do our best to show you. So how many tracks is in this?
So this one's kind of beefy, but Hybrid, yo, welcome to the stream. Yes, this is gonna be on VOD later, but it's always better in the moment, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, it'll be up on YouTube later as well. And welcome, Diego. Thanks, dude. Thanks for joining. And if you're looking to make some bangers, Kyle just said it himself, we're looking to give away our secrets, so you came to the right place. But
what's up, Diego?
So for this song, I think total it looks like 214, but there's a couple of tracks that aren't used and shit, so it's not really, it's probably like realistically 180 or something like that.
But still, it's a healthy amount of tracks,
and you don't need that many to make a banger. I just my mod, like the music I put out now has nowhere near this number. This just like has a ton of layers.
And sometimes like you have one crash, and like on, you know what I mean, like that's why sometimes like I will run crazy amount of tracks just because I'll have like one perk hit on something, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you need that many tracks. It's like sometimes you end up with that many. But I was watching like the breakdown of Hot Girl Bummer, that Black Bear song, and dude, that song was like 60 tracks, I think, total.
Yep.
Which I was like, that's crazy. Yeah.
No, I mean, you made a good point about there just being like one percussion hit on a track. Like I have that quite a few in here, right? Like I've got I've got just this, I think just this guy hits for this entire track. Like that's it for the entire song. It's like 2 little hits. I mean, when you bounce these things to audio and like you put them in sims and stuff, this greatly compresses. But yeah, I mean, you don't need to have this many tracks to make a banger, that's for sure. But this is where we're starting. So let's just kind of go through this intro and see what we got.
Fire.
Oh, let me reload the project too quick. Hold up, let's see if it's gonna do it to me. Yeah, all right. This is like real quick.
System overload?
No, it's not system overload. So this is one of the reasons I actually am switching to Ableton. I don't know if it's because of the version of Logic I use, but it does this weird thing where it will, like, if I have the project open for too long or something, the project will just stop playing. Like the playhead won't move no matter what I do.
Yeah, it's happened to me.
Yeah, do you know how to fix that?
Nope. I usually just
just restart it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's mad annoying. And I
know when you get the project reopen, and then I'll have to, because I have it on my screen share.
Okay. I think so. When it opens back up in the Discord chat, it should open up in the same way, like when I share the screen.
Okay, cool.
Hopefully.
Okay.
Otherwise, it kind of breaks our system, but
it's fine.
Yeah.
Someone Pio was just saying he's had a crazy bus bug lately on Logic. Dude, I've had this weird thing where like it wasn't letting me like drag in certain, like it wasn't letting me, it would drag in a WAV file, and then I would like reopen it, it would say this is an 8-bit format, and then like wouldn't play, like just like weird stuff like that.
All right, I'm back up. It looks like it's in the same format.
I need to, I think I need to because sometimes you have to
oh, the link for OBS. True.
Doing that thing. I need to click on watch stream. Let's see, watch stream. Okay, there we go. And now we should.
Yo, Rysku, welcome to the stream, buddy.
Okay,
good to have you, man. Those of you who don't know, Rysku and I also had a collab. We did a collab with Veda back a couple months ago, actually. A dope producer himself. All right.
Yeah, I'm getting sorry, I have to reformat my.
Oh, you're good. Just let me know.
Okay, let me just do this real quick.
Yeah, for those of you guys joining, Kyle and I are trying to do this like co-stream breakdown. There's a couple technical difficulties here and there, but I think ultimately this is gonna give like a lot of value, because a lot of producers will break down their songs with vocals and they don't get the perspective of the songwriter. I think Kyle can give a lot of the perspective, because I mean, this song, people get really attached to the vocals and the meaning behind the song, you know, and Kyle's the one who brought that to this song. So I think it's super helpful to have him here and like kind of helping us through that side of the breakdown.
Thanks, dude. Okay.
Yeah, man.
We're almost back in business here. Oh shoot! It went back to watch stream again.
I wonder why it does that. You just click on the window, right? Or
yeah, I clicked on it for this is the first time it went back. Let's see. I'm trying to get us back in it, and then I will go from there, which hopefully this doesn't jack that up. Okay. I mean, people can hear it, so feel free to like.
Got you. Yeah, I'll go ahead and dive in on it. All right, so let's get this intro going.
The days are long, the sun is gone. Our bones are tired of keeping calm to carry on when it feels like fire. We're reaching, we're searching for brighter days ahead, to overcome, to right or wrong. Yeah.
All right, so the epic vocal from Kyle. Yeah, but so I'll look at the instrumental real quick. I mean, right in the beginning, it's really just a lot of ambience. This song was written like, or at least where I did a lot of the effects processing and all that was kind of in the summertime. And so I really wanted to kind of bring some of that like mid to late summer vibe to it. And I kind of just wanted to be that summer anthem feel. And so that's why I put this cicada sound in here. Because I grew up like in the East, on the East Coast, and in the summer there's like a ton of cicadas that'll come out. And so I just love the sound of this. I think it like really brings the sound of summer out.
Yeah, I remember hearing that and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. So just, and it also like straight off like tells you it's gonna be a feelsy track, in my opinion.
I think it's something, I do this in most of my songs. There's like a, not always throughout the whole thing, but sometimes like throughout the whole song. I did a breakdown the other day where it was like this, like it sounds kind of creepy when I say it, but it was like kids at like a playground kind of, and it was like the subtle thing, and it went throughout the whole song. And it just kind of gives it this like ambient, I don't know, it's like it's something that like the listener doesn't know that it's necessarily, not that like, I mean, obviously
it's subliminal,
but like it can be subliminal, and also this like subtle thing that just kind of holds down the track and gives it like a feeling without the listener maybe even knowing that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like this subliminal thing. I mean, it's like subliminal messaging in advertising, right? But we're doing it through music, and we're trying to make you feel something. But yeah, so that's it for the ambience. And then it's really just, this intro is mostly vocals and guitar. And the guitar, like, I won't go too deep in on it, but the reason why there's a whole lot of guitar tracks here, the way I did the processing on this one is kind of weird. I have a mid channel and a side channel. So I did like a mid guitar processing and then a side one. And the reason why is I wanted it very wide but still present. But basically, like in simple terms, I just pretty much just double all my guitar tracks. I record twice and then just hard pan left to right. It always sets like, gives like a really good presence in the stereo field.
Yeah, it feels really nice. Wait, so did you say you had one down the middle too, or just left and right?
So I have, so the way I split up the processing, I have like left and right hard pan, but then I did a group called guitar mid and a group called just guitar. And on the guitar group, it's more like a side group. So it's not full side, but it's like it's pushed more to the sides. So like mid-side processing where it's like more stereo, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the whole idea whereas I'm like, I just have like the guitar mid processing is kind of like more the lead for forward guitars. And the sides are more kind of like just support. And I'll show you what that sounds like right here. So that's the main guitar, right? And this is the sides. And you can hear how they're really pushed out.
Yeah.
And
so is that 4 guitar layers then?
Yeah, so that's 4 layers for just that intro. And then I have a bunch of like palm mutes that come in here, which there's 4 layers of palm mutes. And then there's a chord. So
yeah, Pio just asked the same question. Yeah, so yeah, there's ones that are like super spread, apparent, like I guess, and then ones that are like subtly spread.
Exactly. So here I'll play, this is at the mid channel, and it's not like I normally do a hard left right pan, but on this I just did a subtle one. So it's, you know, -12, +12. So it's more down the middle. And then I've got that little like, harm thing in there.
Yeah. Those feel really good. The ones that are -12 and +12, like what's like your processing on something? Like
got you. So I wouldn't necessarily, so this is actually, these are printed audio. Before I was using, I don't know if I was using Guitar Rig at this point. I used to use this thing called Helix. Line 6 makes it. I know Helix. Yeah. So, but I don't have that anymore because I was just doing a trial version. I wrote a song with just the trial version, so whatever. But
nice, that's how you do it. I have the trial version of Guitar Rig, and I just like find an amp I like, and I bounce it to audio.
Exactly.
Right, we're good.
Yeah. So yeah, that was the idea. Like I'm pretty sure that was the Helix that I did on this. Printed to audio, and then the processing, most of the tone, like the clean tone, comes from that. And then here, I just kind of wanted. I wouldn't normally process a guitar this way, like boosting at that high shelf on those really high frequencies, but I wanted something like really bright that kind of made the attack shine through, and then just some subtle kind of getting some of those low mids and a little bit of like beefier lows out just so it fit with the rest of the instrumental. And then in terms of like the compression and everything was all done in Helix. And I'm sure I was running, I've showed this on my other live streams, but I almost always run this guy on like every channel I do, just because
What is it?
the fat effects. So it's like distortion.
Okay. Oh, dude, it's sick.
It's so good, dude.
I just started like figuring that, and that's maybe like one thing that I'm sad to leave in Logic by being in Ableton, because there's the presets are awesome in Fat Effects, and there's so many cool, like I put it on vocals. Like there's just so many happy accidents that can be had in Fat Effects. Yeah,
it's an amazing plugin. And I use it like I said on pretty much every channel. So that's probably how I ended up getting these things so beefy. I didn't go like crazy in detail on the compression. I probably just cranked that compressor knob in Fat Effects and it sounded good.
Effects,
yeah. And then this, just not as beefy on the compression. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, the way this started out was these were hard left right panned, and then I only had 2 layers in this guy, and then I was like, you know what, I kind of want it to be bigger, so then that's where I added this secondary processing, and that's where these come in. And without, it's really subtle, but
sick. No, I love that.
Just kind of opens it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then that's just kind of boosting a little bit in the mids, just to again kind of give it some more of that presence on the side. And then for the guitars, palm mute's pretty simple on the palm mute. Nothing crazy there. Oh, Tanner, welcome to the stream, man. Thanks for the kind words, dude. Yeah, I'd love to see some more people in here. We're giving all our secrets away.
Joaquim's in here on my side.
Yeah, welcome, Joaquim.
He said, "Did I miss it?" I said, "Shut up, dude." And he said, "Sorry." I said, "It's okay. Just don't do it again." So what were you saying?
No, I was gonna say we just don't need that kind of energy in this stream.
Exactly. We don't need that, Joaquim. Melody Man Music on my side, he said, "I've had this problem in Logic lately where I wish I was a better songwriter." I have that. That's a common problem. I have it every DAW.
Dude, yeah, it's pervasive. Like that's a universal problem, and everyone has it. It's not just one person or any.
Every DAW has that.
Yeah. All right, and then supporting stuff. So let's see. Let me mute these guitars real quick so we can hear what else we got going on. Go through just real quick. It's pretty. So just a little clock ticking in the background, and the little vocal chops and stuff to kind of give some more ambience.
Yeah, what's that? The one that's like.
So that is, I'm pretty sure, this guy. So this came from. So part of the lead, and also it's like part of the lead in the drop came from this Heather Summer, right?
Yeah,
she did a vocal pack a while back with Kara, I think.
Oh, that's crazy. I can't wait to tell her that. That's wild.
I use a lot of Heather's like vocal samples because they just sound really good, and you can make crazy you can make crazy vocal chop sounds out of them. So
sick.
I think I used some of yours in like certain parts, but I used hers for these little like background drone sounds and stuff like that, and also part of the drop lead. But so that's what that is, and then just some supporting piano, which is playing the same chords as the guitar, just maybe a little bit more extended. Actually, no, not extended at all.
Is that an Omnisphere patch?
We've got Keyscape and probably both Keyscape. So
cool. Yeah,
the bell's coming from probably the music box thing on Keyscape because I love that. Yeah, Celesta music box. And then just some reverse, like just bounce the piano to audio with reverb, and you get that reverse swell. Really good for pushing it into the next section. This is an Omnisphere patch, and I use this patch and almost everything I do, like every melodic thing that I do, just because it sounds really good as a layer.
Oh, is that the choir?
It's called Afterglow, I think. If it'll load. Afterglow? Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna.
Yeah, right.
My notes.
Yeah, save that one. I found this guy like right when I first got Omnisphere, and I was like, holy hell, and I've used it ever since then. Like, it's one of my favorite patches in there.
Yeah. Dude, it's funny. I think everyone has like, dude, I have these like gospel vocal chops, or like these gospel like samples that I use in almost every song, and I don't know how they somehow end up every song, but I feel like every producer has like some like sample or preset or something that they use in every song.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like part of building your sound too. Like, whatever catches your ear and sounds cool to you, like, just like double down on it, because that's what will make your sound unique, you know? It's like using those little elements in every song and stuff like that. Like, that's, I don't know, it's cool. It kind of helps build your identity. Tanner, sorry, just saw your chat, buddy. Yes, I do make all my own art and visuals. Well, for the most part. There's a couple songs where I've actually had some people do it for me, or kind of collabed with them on it. But for the most, like, I would say about 80 to 90% of my visuals and art I do myself. Like, all the video edits I do myself. So the leads, I think that's it for the intro. And then percussion is just that clock ticking. There's nothing crazy there. And then we've got the majestic vocals from Kyle, which sound great on their own. Go back to here.
The days are long, the sun is gone. Our bones are tired of keeping calm to carry on. When it feels like fire, we're reaching, we're searching for brighter days ahead, to overcome, to right or wrong.
So I think this would be a good moment, Kyle, to show your DAW and show us what you got going on in here, because on my end I'm doing barely any processing. I'm doing like the tiniest touch of EQ in the lows to make it fit in the instrumental a little better, but the vocals that Kyle gave me are incredible. So like, they were processed really well, didn't have to really touch them at all.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, I'm gonna, let's see, I'll transfer into mine, and then we'll see if my computer starts to blow up, then we'll just, but yeah, I can at least definitely show like my vocal chain for this and everything. So
gotcha. Yeah.
All right. So in the verse, let me take off. I'm gonna have to take off.
Welcome, Joaquim. Also a big fan of yours.
Okay, so I have Melodyne, of course. And then I have Melodyne going into Autotune. Let's see. If we'll open up. And my retune speed is at 16. Let me check something real quick.
So you're using Autotune more as like just like a nice tonal, because it has a certain character sound to it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just love Autotune. On my vocals. So like, like certain voices it like works better with, and I feel like most of the time it helps a ton. Well, but like, not obviously for the obvious reasons, but then like it just like it works well with like the tone of my voice. Let me make sure I'm showing.
No, but you're definitely right, because like, for those of you guys who don't know, but like the different, so Autotune, Melodyne, even like Logic's, because you can tune vocals in Logic too, but they all have different algorithms, and they all have like different ways they tune things, and it sounds slightly different. So
I just feel like, I don't know, I think the polishing in Autotune is like unbeatable.
Definitely agree.
And dude, I have like the most basic Autotune too. I have like Autotune EFX, and like works just great. And then I have it at Humanize at 100. So it's like I'm not trying to go like T-Pain. I'm like, I want to give it that nice polish. And the song is in F major, I think, we hope. And so that's the key I have it set to.
That's how I have it set.
That's good.
Nailed it.
Good news.
No
and
pun.
Then we go from Autotune into the virtual mix rack, where I have this FGN EQ. I have an FG116 compressor, and then an Air EQ. just to give it like some brightness and just that like kind of airy vibe, which is like a big theme of, I feel like a lot of the feeling of this song is like there's a lot of air and a lot of like good air in the song. And so I almost always add that onto my vocals. And then from there, we're going into a de-esser. And I'm just using the FabFilter Pro DS on the male wide preset. And then you can adjust the threshold and then also adjust like, the frequency range that it's like de-essing.
Yeah.
Depending on what you're going or what, like how you're singing. And then I have CLA 2A.
Classic.
Just doing a little bit, just a little bit more of compression, but like I compress the hell out of my vocals. Like now in Virtual Mix Rack, like I have 2 more compressors in there, which like probably don't need it, but whatever. And then an EQ where I'm taking out low end, doing a little scoop in like the 200 area, like in 284, a little scoop in the 400 area, and then like a little bump in like the 1 to 2K just for some like just high mid presence. And then but also like I don't know, it's funny, I always see things in like later sessions, like doesn't matter because the vocal felt good, so like I take feel good over being like right by the books any day. And
absolutely,
so,
yeah,
like it is kind of strange for me to wait this long to scoop the lows out. Like what is this, like 4th or 5th thing in my chain? Like I would go auto tune into an EQ where I'm just scooping out the low end,
so that you're sending a cleaner signal into the compressor.
Exactly, yeah. Because then, exactly what Carson said. Because if you don't scoop out the low end, then you're feeding the compressor the low end you don't want. You're feeding it that like gross boxiness in 200. And then the last thing on my chain is Decapitator, just to give it some subtle saturation. It's at 100% wet, and then just like 1.5 on the drive. So very, very subtle. And yeah, just to kind of give it a little bit of saturation.
Yep.
And then on my sends, we got just a straight up, we got Valhalla Vintage Verb on literally the setting. When you open up Valhalla Vintage Verb, this is I rarely, unless I'm like trying to find a certain kind of reverb, but for vocals, I use it. I haven't found a preset in here that I like more for vocals than what it just opens up to.
Very interesting. All right.
I'm gonna keep it like that. Yeah, and obviously you can adjust decay and pre-delay, all that stuff. And
yeah.
On that same bus, under my reverb, I have a little low pass and a little high pass just to clean it up a little bit. I don't always do that, but sometimes I do if I feel like the reverb is a little muddy.
Yeah.
And I don't know if did you end up using my wet vocals or dry vocals?
I used the wet because, I mean, they sounded like, I tried using the dry and I was just like, I started processing them and I kept going back to your wet and I was just like, they just sound so good already and they fit perfectly in instrumental. So
sweet. Awesome. Well, that makes me happy because I spend a lot of time, and it's just like it's like when someone sends me vocals, like, and I'm producing a song, like the least amount of work I have to do, and that's also like, I think mature on your end as far as like production, because I think, and this happens to me sometimes if I learn a new trick, it's like, and like younger and like producing is like sometimes like you never have to do something just for the sake of doing it. Like if it feels good how it is, just like leave it. Like
exactly, yeah.
Just how I was saying earlier, like okay, I would have normally EQ'd out the low end, but it's like whatever. At this point, it doesn't matter because maybe it would feel like a 2% better, 5% better. But like I think if someone sends me something and it feels good, I'm not gonna like add a plugin on just for the sake of it. And so that can be really hard though, because I still fall for that.
100% agree with you though.
This parallel compression, for some reason it got set to, it should be mono, so it's, don't ever use this left and right
the dual mono.
Yeah, never do that.
So
I mean, maybe
I've uses for it.
Reason. Oh, you have?
Yeah, but I don't know, I might actually be doing it in this project, but we'll get to that later.
Okay, so usually I have this bus set to like mono. And then it's so this is parallel compression, which for the longest time confused the hell out of me. And also, I think this got reset. I'll be straight up, because usually when I'm doing parallel compression,
You're
and that
slamming
what
it.
scared me for so long. It's like pretty much what it is. It's like a really intense effect lightly put on it through a bus. And so this is actually not right. I don't know why it looks like this, but I would usually have it the ratio at all, and then like it just slams super hard, and then just adding a little bit, and it just kind of adds some glue and like I don't know, to the vocal. It feels really nice. A lot of people do parallel compression on drums and stuff like that too. And then after that, I have a subtle slap delay, but not to give it a slap delay effect, but just to kind of give it that like, I don't know, just gives it like a little bit of like a room feel, but it's like very subtle. And then after that, I have a short verb, which is kind of doing a similar thing. Like the slap delay in like that I have on there, and then after this little it's just kind of give it just more of like a to be honest, I don't even know the exact like way to describe it. It's just kind of a feeling, and it's like a cup, like these things are like very subtle things that just kind of make the vocal feel like what the end product feels like. And then after that, I got little micro shift. I use this all the time. I have it on the 3. Like there's like the 1, 2, or 3. I have it on 3 at 100%. So this would be technically parallel, imaging or whatever. But
wait, so what does micro shift do? Because I've heard a lot about this plugin, but I've never tried it.
Yeah, so I'll show you real quick. So like, what's it at right now? It's at like 6.6. So this is it. Like, let's see. Oh, cool. We got the rainbow wheel.
The days long,
and then if I turn it up,
gone, our bones are tired.
Okay. So is it?
So it's a widening. It's like a stereo imaging kind of thing.
Kind of like a Haas effect type of thing.
Yeah, but what I like about it is, one, just to give it some width. Like it's more like, especially because in a really poppy vocal, it can be really nice. Like I do it more subtly. You can I actually have started automate, like you can automate it to go like that full width how I just played it for you for hyper pop stuff. If you automate that, it can feel really cool. But it's more of just like a widening of the vocal, but also I feel like it also is in really good relation with auto-tune, actually, where it kind of gives maybe like a 5% more polish to the vocal with that like kind of Haas effect feel.
Interesting.
But yeah, I use it. I learned that from my friend Wyatt like a few years back, and I use it a ton. And then I got 2 more. Sorry, there's like all the sauce on my vocal. And so I have a side chain delay, and it's not actually, it's just like it's what's it called? Parallel what I forget, but I'll just explain what's happening. So I have a quarter note delay, and then I have the compressor. All my vocals are sent to like a certain bus, and so in this bus, it's registering when all the vocal audio is going to this bus. And
sidechain trigger, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's like sidechain delay, I guess, was the right thing. So I have going to this, and then I can adjust the threshold. And so the really cool thing is like, yeah, you can automate, and sometimes I automate my delays and also do this. But like, so when I'm singing, it ducks the delay, and then when I stop singing, it lets it go. And so it just saves you some time, and also it can clean up your mix.
Sure.
Sometimes I've been kind of annoyed at it on some songs, in the sense of like it's too like on and off feeling, if that makes sense. And like you can adjust it, but like I don't know, sometimes I just automate the delay still without doing this. And then I have like a little low pass, which you can also do the low pass filters within H delay. But sometimes I just do it with this EQ. Yeah. And then last but not least, we have the same thing going on, but with a reverb. So like I don't want I didn't want the reverb to be like so soaked that you don't know what I'm saying, but I wanted it to be like na 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 na, and then when I stop, you like feel like the air of, like,
Breathes
the
out.
reverb kind of,
Yeah.
exactly. So, and that is pretty much like what's going on in this verse right now. And so, I also there's some like ad libs and then also some subtle. Um, April is like doing some, and those are panned hard left and hard right, at least on mine. I don't know.
Yeah.
Feels like fire, we're reaching,
And it gives such a nice breath, like
searching
airiness.
for
Like
brighter days ahead.
whenever I write songs with April, like if I have the opportunity and she's down, like I'm like, yo, please, yeah, send like, because shit really does. It's like one of those things again that's subtle, but like really is contributing to the feeling of the overall track and vocal and song as a whole.
Definitely.
But yeah, that's pretty much it on just like the vocals, at least in that section.
Cool. What so actually I'm curious as well, like when you hear, so say you hear this guitar, right? Because I'm sure like as a songwriter, that's probably what you gravitated towards when you heard the beginning of the instrumental, right? You heard that and you probably wrote mostly off those chords.
Yep.
So when you're hearing something like this,
The day
you know, like when you're thinking of how you're gonna write to that, do you just kind of go based off of feeling, or do you have a strategy? Like,
It's based all off feeling. Like,
Okay.
I usually will just turn the mic on and then like just start freestyling some stuff.
got you.
But like, I don't know, I'm really inspired by like guitars and especially just like ethereal feeling stuff like that. So like it was like perfect. And just like I tell people like on the like, demo feedback and stuff, like was something that's really important for a producer to like to do for a vocalist is to leave space. And like you did such a good job of that, because like it's super easy to overcompensate in production when like the vocal isn't in there. And so to recognize as the producer that like, hey, this vocalist needs to hear melodies and like needs space to put in lyrics and things like that. And so I don't know, yeah, it was just like you made my job way easier by like, I don't know, one, just creating the feeling of the track, but then also like leaving open space for me throughout the whole song to kind of do my thing.
For sure. I mean, and for the producers out there, like there is a hack for this. I mean, in general, like the mentality that I go into when I write songs for vocalists, I mean, you're absolutely right. Like leaving that space for the vocal can be challenging, because it's really easy when you hear that empty space to just, oh, let me stick a little lead or a bell in there or something. Let me fill it out, because your ear wants to hear more. But I think in my mind, I go in thinking like, how can I lay out this bass rhythm, this really simple kind of like something that has a vibe. Like I'm not trying to write a really cool song. I'm trying to like create a really cool vibe is the way I go in thinking about it. Because I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but vocalists and songwriters, they go off of vibe, you know. It's not really like, oh, these chords are so cool, or like that chord change is dope, which I mean, sometimes you can geek out about it, but it's more like this sets a good vibe, this sets a mood, I can write in this atmosphere.
Yeah, exactly.
But the hack is honestly, like, I didn't do it for this one, but sometimes if I'm feeling in a rut and I'm not sure how to write something that I know wants a vocal, I will pull in an acapella from another song I've done or someone else's song, and then write around that. You got to be a little careful about that though, because if you write too strongly to that acapella, sometimes it'll sound like you can't find
like
another vocal. Like you can't find another vocal that'll fill that space because you wrote too strongly to it.
Yeah.
So you gotta be a little careful sometimes with that. But
one thing I learned from this other producer too, even like on production, sometimes if I'm like, oh, I don't know like what the drums should do, like pulling a song that's like similar, and like you can kind of like start out with like their whatever like their same drum pattern they're using, and you can end up, I mean, you could just keep the same, or you could like, once you get that down, then you can like, oh, what does it sound like if I do like a double kick, like a kick here instead of like leaving more, you know, like if I add an extra kick here, and like it's okay like that. It's kind of, that's just like part of the process, and like what they call stealing like an artist, I guess. Like,
absolutely,
it's
yeah.
not, like being inspired is not stealing, and so anything to like, especially if we're creating almost every day, or like if we all go through like highs of inspiration and lows, and it's like if that's what it takes, like that's there's no shame in that. Like,
so that's a really good point, because I mean, I used to feel that was cheating like years ago, and then I started trying it myself because I had hit a couple ruts where I was like, you know what, I feel like I can't make anything that I like and all that kind of stuff. So I started looking at artists that I look up to, and I started pulling their songs into my sessions, and I would just recreate, like you said, the percussion section of this part of the song, and I would recreate it faithfully, like the exact, you know, programming and everything. But then when I would do that, I would mute their file, their audio, and then just play what I have in my session that I've written so far. And then I would kind of go by ear at that point, like, oh, like you said, this sounds cool if I move this kick over here, or if I add an extra snare or something, right? And that's where it becomes unique, and that's where you're putting your spin on it.
Exactly.
But all right, let's see. Let's move into the next section.
P.O. said, I used to think everything was cheating. I made risers by automating white noise on Massive.
Hey, you know what?
With a crying face.
Pio, I was in the same boat. Trust me. I used to be one of those like dudes who is ultra nerdy about production. I still am, but like to the point where every last thing I use, I made my own snares, kick drums, like. And it all sounded like trash because I wasn't good enough at making them. Yeah. So I was ultimately just like hurting myself when I could have just used
like I think just do what is bringing you joy and like what sounds the best for the song. Like if you actually find joy in making all your snares from scratch, then do it.
Absolutely.
But, like if you're just trying to like get a snare that sounds good, like splice a splice for a reason, and like no one. Like Debbie next door is not going to listen to your song and go like, oh my gosh, was that like a splice snare, or like was that? And so it's like, and I'm even like, I feel like the longer though you stay in the industry, the less you kind of get more of you. I mean, there still are some people that are like straight up just purists in that sense, but like I feel like a lot of the most successful producers and songwriters and people like that don't really care. They're just like, I'm like, I don't care I don't care if this is a loop. I don't care what it is. If it sounds good, that's all that matters to me. And I don't really care how you got there.
Well, you also hit the nail on the head earlier when you were saying like, when you're creating every day and you do this for a living, right? Which, you know, we both do. It's just like you hit a point where you kind of need to start pulling, like coming up with new ways to create and pulling inspiration from different places. And you can't constantly make every single facet like on your own. Like you have to kind of rely on other things and tools sometimes. And that's perfectly okay.
Yep.
Okay, let's move on to this next section.
I'm gonna grab a drink real quick. I'll be right back.
Okay, dude, I actually got a couple comments, so let me check this out. Tanner, my bad on not checking these sooner. I'm really bad at looking at comments, but I got you. So when did I first start working with vocalists? That was a few years ago, actually. Definitely before working with Kyle. I would say the first time I worked with vocalists was on an artist project before I was If Found. If Found is not my first artist project, but I would say probably about 4 or 5 years ago was the first time I started working with vocalists. And how did that come about? That was honestly like the very first time was just a friend of a friend, and it was more of just like, hey, you know, we both kind of make music as a hobby. Let's jump in a room together and see what we can do. You know, it wasn't anything like we're gonna write a hit. You know, we were just kind of having fun. And I didn't really have any followers at the time. I made some music. I made more like progressive house and stuff, and I had some people listening, but it wasn't like taking off. And as for your next question, yeah, so DMing vocalists, I definitely get that life. Actually, I think that's how I reached out to Kyle. I hit him up on Instagram, or I sent him an email, one of the two, but it was a cold call. Like, he didn't know me and we didn't really have a mutual connection. I just got lucky that he, you know, decided to listen to the demo I sent him and he liked it. And that's, for the longest time, that's how I connected and met other artists in the community as well, other vocalists. because I didn't grow up in a place where I had that kind of community around me, like in person. So I had to do a lot of that by just doing what you're doing, you know, DMing people and just kind of putting yourself out there. And it's really tough at first, especially to get people who just ghost you or they don't respond. And you know, it's not necessarily because they're ghosting you. I shouldn't say that. Maybe they're just busy and they haven't gotten through their DMs. Like, you never really know what the case is.
Yeah. Someone just asked me, was the demo just the track by itself? And yeah, it was just an instrumental.
Yeah, and it was
if that's what you're asking, I think that's what he's asking.
Okay. Yeah. So the demo was an earlier version of this. Like, the drop was different, but it was the same vibe though. Like, the guitar and everything was pretty much the same. Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, I would say if you're having a hard time connecting with people online, start looking still keep pushing for that. And also expect that sometimes it takes, you know, a while for people to get back just because they have other things going on in their life or things like that. But if you're not finding any success through reaching out through people online, definitely try to like look around you, like in your community, and just start working with people who are interested in working with like singing on songs and things like that, and try to get an ear for vocalists who may not be like the most, I don't know how to put it, like the most talented. I don't want to say talented, but like they have a good character to their voice.
You find someone who's like not like, there's so many people that are undiscovered. Like,
exactly,
someone on your street right now that like you could record that would sound crazy.
Exactly.
Crazy in a good way.
Yeah. Like, and I mean, especially and especially with today's tools, like there's a lot you can do to fix, because people always focus on the pitch of things and like, this has to hit this certain note, yada yada yada, but that's all really easy to fix for the most part. I think the most important part of a vocalist is like, well, whether they convey emotion, first of all, but second of all is like the character and the tonality of their voice.
Tone is king.
Exactly. So if you can find someone who, you know, maybe they can't hit all their notes, but the tone sounds good, that's money right there. Like, just double down on that. And then, yeah, so I don't know if there's any other questions. Any more on your side, Kyle?
No, I think, we're good to move on.
Cool. So moving to the next section.
We can add, we've been shooting for like an hour and we're in first one.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. No, we might have to make a part 2 because I can't stream all night. But
we're good at it.
Yeah, I'd be down to do a part 2 if you'd be down.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's at least get through the first drop though. I think we can make it. All right, so moving into this next production. All right. So that's kind of, I'm curious to see what you would call it. I normally in EDM call that a pre.
Yeah.
Okay.
It depends the setting. Oh, I guess, yeah, well, in this case, I would call that the pre too. But yeah, it's I guess sometimes I would call that the chorus, like, and then the drop would just be the drop.
Yeah.
But like a lot, I guess, like in dance world, like producers consider the drop the chorus.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like depends on whose perspective you're asking from.
Yeah.
But I mean, since you have some vocals that sing over this, like the good news tag, basically, I would consider this more of like a pre. But anyways, the instrument, from an instrumentation standpoint, let's see what we got. This is where the drums start to open up a bit. So got these little orchestral hits. And this is really just like, so these orchestral loops are both things that I made with a mix of Kashmir samples and something else, but I made these loops a while ago and I just use them in a lot of different productions. You can hear these in quite a few of my songs actually, but they just work really well for that, like that big melodic bass kind of sound, anthemic sound. And this is like picking up here, you know, just kind of starts picking up the rhythm a little bit, signaling to the listener something's coming. And just a couple stomps to kind of add like accents to it. And then, but normally the way I go about writing this type of music is I'm more focused on chords and melody first, and then the rhythm, all the percussion, everything comes second. If I'm writing something heavier and darker, it's kind of the other way around. But let's see, I think I changed the chords here. No, I do not actually. Yeah, so in a lot of my songs, I actually will switch the chord progression up in the pre, and I think it's just a really refreshing way of just saying, hey, the song is changing, new mood, all that kind of stuff. You can be tricky doing that because it's got to still fit with the original, with the earlier progression. But, oh, Oscar, so welcome to the stream. Audio from the doll is kind of weird. Is that on my end? Kyle, how's it sounding to you?
Sounds good to me, unless something from my end is messing up yours, but...
So Oscar, let me know, is it like crackling? Because I think I'm good on my end, but I'll keep going until I'll see what you got. But yeah, anyways, chord progression's pretty much the same. I just start kind of extending out these chords a bit more. Adding a little bit more instrumentation. We got this little string guy that comes in here. Another atmosphere patch.
What atmosphere patch is that?
I believe it's Adagio. It's like yeah, I think so. Let's see. So Dihan, welcome to the stream. Yeah, Adagio Expressivo. I use this like quite a bit.
How do you D-A-J-I-O?
Yeah, A-D-A-G-I-O. Adagio.
Adagio, okay.
So apparently we got some crackly audio. Is it okay, so I don't know why my audio would be crackling. Is it the mic or just the DAW? My bitrate seems to be fine.
Let me try if I mute mine. Is it still...
I think it's a stream issue, like maybe the bandwidth is getting choked up, but I don't know. Let's see.
Is that better? I just muted.
All right, we got some DAW crackling issues. Had this before. Oh, apparently it's fixed itself. Okay, it sounds good now. I think it might have been a stream issue. I think my bitrate might have dropped or something.
Okay.
Yeah, so we got the strings. This little like bell sound from Keyscape.
Nice.
The full piano, a little pad. And then to kind of further break up this progression instead of just looping it over again, same progression, but then I add a little bit of these top notes here to kind of give a little bit more dissonance in some of the chords to build some more tension, and also changing up the rhythm just slightly. So and that piano is pushed pretty hard, so it should be sounding crackly.
Crazy.
Yeah, like I mean, I wanted something that's gonna be like almost housey sounding, but
is there like a little delay on it too?
There, I don't think there is. There might be in the patch. Let me double check.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Donna.
Oh yeah. I actually have it done here. I think I originally did have a delay on that, and then I wanted to be a cleaner like echo almost,
Cool.
so I just wrote it in instead.
Sick.
And then there's this little background thing. I don't even know what this is. Oh, it's the ARP.
Yeah, that thing's crazy.
So I might have the patch still. No, I don't. All right, so that was something I did in an earlier version of the project. Just bounced the audio and then, you know, kept it. But it's I can almost guarantee it's the same chords. I just put an arpeggio on it or arpeggiator and just, you know, just kind of EQ'd it to taste.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It was probably a serum patch, most likely. And then lead wise, I think I start introducing some of the leads here. Oh, this is just like a little like build thing. And that's some of the build leads just kind of teased a little, or yeah, not build, but the drop leads teased a little bit. I always like to do these like chopped sections where it just kind of stutters and repeats. Just like one of my, I don't want to call it signature, but I do it a lot in a lot of my productions. I just think it sounds cool. But so that's just kind of what's going on here. And I just basically automated the reverb so it cuts. I believe I did. Oh, actually didn't have it there.
The reverb?
No, so when I'm doing, the only time I bust reverb anymore, which I know is kind of a no-no, but again, like he said, if it sounds good, it sounds good.
Yeah.
The only time I bust reverb anymore is when I'm doing vocal processing. I think for the most part, all my reverb is on channel, and I typically will bounce to audio. Like a lot of times what I'll do is I'll have like a lead. So say this would be my lead. I would duplicate the channel, copy everything down, and then put it a full wet signal, like reverb on it, as if it was bust. Bounce that to audio, and then EQ and everything from taste. I just like looking at the waveforms.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more work, but I feel like I have more control versus just like busting it and then relying solely on my ears.
Yeah.
And then yeah, so that's about it. Like there's not even a riser really in this. There's this like tiny little frequency riser, but there's not a whole lot of like crazy digital build elements there. And then yeah, that's pretty much it for the instrumental. I don't think there's really much else going on. But we've got the vocal here, the pre.
I know there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Oh yeah, there's some great harmonies and stuff in here that I think we could switch over to you, Kyle. You can break this down a little bit more.
Yeah. So let's see where we at. So yeah, for this part, let's see.
Somebody give me some.
A
bone.
Let's see. Where does that part start? Oh yeah. Yeah, so for the O's, I have like a lead down the middle. And then I also layered like a octave up with Little Altar Boy doing this. Which sounds really weird on its own.
Yeah. No, but I mean, if it works, right?
Yeah. And then I have an O, another O panned hard left. And this is all the same processing as like, as far as like the chain, as my verse and stuff. And so.
No.
Know there's light at the end of the tunnel.
And then we have me and April's doing these awesome harms.
I know there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, very sweet sounding.
Saucy. Yeah. And then we got I don't know if we kept that reverse in there, but I love doing like vocal reverses for transitions.
I think it's in there, yeah, it's in there.
That section. Do you want me to go over the vocals for this part, or do you want to switch over to you and then we can come back to?
Oh, for the drop.
Yeah, like the leading up to the drop.
Oh, so I already did that part of the instrumental. Like I'm on the drop now for instrumental.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, sick. And then for this part, it's like I and sometimes what I'll do is like for the O's, I knew I wanted the O's to be pretty epic, so I did have them panned hard left and right. But sometimes for like a pre-chorus or what, I don't know. There's like two pre's essentially in the song, or
Yeah.
I guess the O is the pre, and then the other part is like the actual pre. But like you don't want to give away like too much width necessarily sometimes, like before like the chorus. And so sometimes I like this ones I happen to pan hard left and hard right on the O's. But like sometimes I'll pan at like 40% or 20% if I'm gonna do a double, and then save the hard pans for like the main section. But in the vocals right here, I got
Somebody give me some good news now.
and then a left or right.
I just wanna know we're getting better. We got a lot to figure out. I've been losing hope.
And
Oh,
then
that low harmony is oof.
yeah, a bunch of harms from Abe.
Somebody give me some good news now. I just wanna know we're getting better. We got a lot to figure out. I've been losing hope, so give me some good news.
And that's it's pretty much it's like me, a left and a right, and then April went to Harm Farm on the freaking
I think like
on the harmonies.
absolutely. I mean, and this is an excellent example of how an already amazing vocal can be brought up like just a whole nother level with just solid harmonies that sound musical, but like they don't, because a lot of times you'll hear harmonies and they just kind of like stand on their own apart from the vocal, whereas these are very supportive.
Yeah, and some harmonies like kind of goes back to another thing we were talking about earlier, where it's like some harmonies I'm like, oh, that was a cool, really cool harmony, like that's good job that we know how to do that, but like it's not always fitting, and so that's up to your judgment. And so it's like finding the harmonies that are like fitting for the song that also feel good. And then I have two reverses on top of each other, kind of going into that. And usually I'll have the vocal that I'll reverse will be the note that you're going to hear on the one of the next section. So it transitions. So like my first note is going to be good news. And you'll hear that.
Yeah.
So when it goes into it, it just feels the cohesiveness is there, and it just creates another thing to kind of bridge that transition of like epicness. And yeah, I mean, since you're about to go into this drop, like there's not too much I have, just so like we don't have to go back and forth on that part. The only thing that is like me repeating that good news part, and then I have this like kind of like what you were saying, where I bounced the lead to audio, and I knew I wanted this epic reverb feel, so I bounced the lead to audio, and then I put Valhalla Vintage Verb on 100% wet. So it's just giving. I have some reverb on the thing, but it's not gonna phase, because if you put an effect at 100%, it changes it enough. I mean, you still have to be like weary or like be careful, but. And so with the lead and then that verb under it, it sounds like this.
Yeah.
Give me some.
And that reverb trail is just so like
So good.
So nice.
Yeah, it feels so good.
Because I was actually at first just automating the reverb and making the reverb like really big in that section, but I was like, it's not enough, and sometimes you just have to throw that baby right on the track. And so what I did is I bounced the lead to audio, and then I still have the lead going, it's just a lot more dry, and then under it I have the full reverb track under it.
So something I want to point out as well, if there's any like vocalists or any potential vocalists in stream, like when you're like in a session, you're printing these out, you're trying to get them to the producer or whatever situation you might be in, like printing, like especially if you're trying to have that big verb effect, having that in a separate stem for the producer to mess around with a little bit as well is super crucial, which is exactly what you did. I mean, you printed that extra reverb effects to audio, and like the reason why that's so dope for me is because I actually showed it in my project, but I do like a hard cut in certain sections to give room for the instrumental. So it's like, and it lets, you know, your reverb shine through, but it also lets me have a little bit more control so the instrumental can weave in and out a little bit more.
Yeah, I always I typically always balance to like a wet vocal and a dry vocal because
Yeah.
like depending on what the vibe is, or like I also never know. Like I didn't when I first was working on the song, I don't know. I mean, I know now that like If Found is a vocal producer, but it's like I never know, and so I was like, I'm gonna send you the completely compressed, wet effects, but I'm also gonna send you the dry. And sometimes, like a lot of times, the producer or your collaborator might use half and half, or like, oh,
Yeah.
like I really like how this was wet, but you know what, I like the dry part of this, and so having that option, and then if you can send effects on their own as well, but I always send out usually at least a wet and dry.
Absolutely. Yeah, very helpful.
So
But all right, so I guess we'll go ahead and move into the drop. And actually, what I'll do, pull up this thing here. I gotta switch back over. I'm gonna actually pick it up before going into instrumentation. I'm gonna pick it up back where you left off with the vocals and the drop, because I did do a small little modifications on that little on your vocal tags in the drop. And it was mostly just adding a little bit more layers in there to kind of bring it out and make it just a little bit bigger. And I do this a lot, like on drop sections if there's vocals over it, just to kind of give it that bigger feel. But let's see. So this is what Kyle originally had in here. I think he also had the vocal, he had this reverb in here. This is what I was talking about earlier, is this is his lead stem right here, right? And this is that chorus effects, that big reverb that he had out there. And he's got it printed to a separate stem. So I used it in the pre, which is right here, but coming into the drop, which starts right here, I actually mute it and I do my own effects coming in here. And the reason why is because the drop, I needed to have like very tight control over exactly how everything was hitting. And I wanted a little bit different tonality coming into that section, or going when it started. So this is where he had his lead here. Oh wait, I have to actually unmute. There we go. So a couple things, like I'm actually creating a little bit of that space myself, but and I also did that little quick cut there as well. But then I add these extra layers. So I added my own kind of harmonies in here, which is so they kind of sound a little wonky on their own, but I'm basically just automating with little altar boy. And what this is doing is it's like taking some of the drop melody that I have in there and infusing it back into his vocal melody. So I'm basically just automating the pitch on this little altar boy for this one. Yeah, so I can't sing, but it goes up like that. And then the processing there, pretty heavily low pass, but just running through OTT like every good bass producer does. And then I'm creating a lot of space for that lead vocal, so I'm really carving out a lot of the mids. I'm just trying to have it be almost like an ambient thing. And then fat effects to kind of tighten it all up, and I'm pushing this pretty heavy as well on the compressor, cutting out a little bit of the lows so that it creates space for the rest of the drop. And then on this guy, so that last note sounds a little funky, but it still works in context. And then exactly, yeah, so it's just doing a little bit of same processing, but just different notes.
That's why you never want to hang out on the solo button too long, because all that matters is what it sounds like in the mix.
Exactly, yeah. So and then it comes in together like this. And it just kind of has this like interesting triumphant sound to it. Yeah. Which is kind of what I was going for. And then you throw in the like chord stacks and everything. Well, we'll be right back. I gotta restart the project real quick.
Okay.
It'll take just a second to reload, but I'm actually surprised it lasted as long as it did. We got lucky with it.
That's crazy that wait, so that's the thing where you're saying it just won't play?
Yeah, like if I try to hit play again, that play stop, like it stops without me hitting stop. It literally, the playhead just freezes.
That's so weird.
And if I go to hit press play again, it'll just play like a quarter of a second and then just keep stopping. Like it won't go any further. And the only way, like, even if I reload the project, it doesn't work. You have to completely quit Logic and then open Logic again. That's the only way it works.
That's so annoying.
Yeah, it's like a huge buzzkill when you're in the middle of working on a song. Like, you're in your flow state and everything. Massive buzzkill.
Yeah.
Not to mention, like, trying to work in a session with someone else.
Yeah.
But that's why we got Ableton. A lot more stable.
Yeah. Dude, something happened to me in Ableton the other day where I like all my and I there's actually, I guess there's an update where they fix this even in the newest one, but like all my pitch bends were like off, and like even if I brought them back to 0, like they like kind of lost their true north.
Really?
And, like, everything was yeah, it was tragic.
That sounds like a huge nightmare, honestly.
Yeah, not a great time.
All right, so that part I was actually just showing was in the middle of the drop, and it just kind of changes up a little bit. I'll just kind of show how those vocals fit in with the chord stack, and then I'll go back to the rest of the stuff in the drop. But
Is it back on Discord?
That is, yes. Hold on, I need to fix that real quick. Forgot to share my screen.
So
There we go. We should be good now.
Okay, there we go. Bam, we're back in business.
Well, we might be. Logic is, for some reason, giving me the rainbow wheel. I don't normally get that. There we go. I guess
that's for me.
yeah, no, I normally don't get that.
You're on a Mac, right?
I'm on a custom built PC that's running a Mac OS, so it's called a Hackintosh.
Holy crap! And that's how your stuff can just run so far.
Yeah, I have a really OP
crazy.
rig. I put a lot of time into it. But
A Hackintosh.
yeah, I would not recommend. I wouldn't recommend trying it. Like, I mean, I was telling you earlier, it took me a week just to get it to run.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But I mean, ever since then, it's been pretty smooth for the most part. Okay, so let's just go right into the drop. Let's see what we got. So one thing I'll say, like, from a top-down, like, macro point of view, I like to write my drops. Like, obviously, I make sure the chords and the lead and everything are strong and, like, sounding really good, like, melodically, at least. But I always like to write them with space. I like it as, like, think of it as kind of like creating little holes and little moments in the drop that I can fill in with fills and stuff like that. And it helps with, like, mix downs because you don't have so many things playing together at once. But it also helps with creating, like, these dynamic sounding drops and things that have, you know, moments and stuff like that. But looking at the chord stack, so chords are made up of, we got 3 different stacks in here. I got a serum stack, a lot of bypassed EQ. So for the serum patch, I use a lot of the ES. So Echo Soundworks he's a plugin, like our patch maker for serum.
He probably has my favorite. He probably has my favorite, like, samples and.
Oh yeah,
sets.
Echo Soundworks is amazing.
Crazy.
Love, and the people who have seen my stream before, they know I use a lot of ESW stuff.
Yes.
Like a lot of my stuff, like the patches that I'll even design, they'll start from his, and then I'll go crazy with them. But one thing I found is if you go, like, I think he has a set of, like, core wavetables you can download, and in the basics, he's got this saw collection, really, really solid wavetables for saw sounds, like super saws. So that's kind of what I'm using. I'm using a couple different of those for that, and that on its own sounds like this. And this guy is pretty much I think this is the bulk one, honestly. I'm just taking out a lot of the harsh stuff in 3 to 4K. Oh, wrong thing. Taking out quite a bit of the high end. Taking out, and then scooping this out. This is really to make room for some of those other layers. That's what this guy's doing right here. And then loads of OTT just to kind of tighten everything up. A little bit of like last minute adjustment EQ. You'll see that I have a lot of channel EQs. Typically my workflow for like, at least in Logic, is I'll start with 1 or 2 EQs, and then I just kind of add another EQ when I need more adjustments instead of adjusting the original EQ. And the reason for that is like Logic's channel EQs use very little CPU. And so you can run a ton of them. Obviously your channel strips end up looking really bad, but it allows me to kind of A/B a lot easier, especially like, I mean, Logic has the compare knob, but if you make an EQ change and then go do a couple different things and then save, then you lose the ability to compare. So if I just have a whole new plugin that has my changes, I can just bypass the plugin and, you know, go from there. That's kind of my mentality about just adding EQ instead of changing what's already there. You can get in trouble by doing that though, because then you can end up having some really weird EQ problems. But as long as you're not doing any like really drastic moves, you should be all right. And then these are just some filters for taking out lows, like automating the low cut and automating the high cut. What's going on there? And then the fat effects to kind of glue everything together and just give it, you know, the loudness and presence in the mix. And I'm pushing this like really hard. Also, and this one I use dirt. I normally use the grit module though for super saws. I think it sounds a little bit better. This is the second layer. And then together with the first. So this one, something else. I guess I made this one from scratch. Just a little bit of EQ. I normally don't do a lot in Silent, like for my super saws, because the super saws just sound really good in Silent, like out the gate. You just turn up the detune knob and it starts to sound really good. Sometimes you play with the phase a bit to get it to sit right, but usually it just sits pretty well right off the bat. Processing on this is very similar to the first one, just a little bit different EQ curves. I'm cutting out a lot of those highs to make room for that first patch. So that's what's going on there. And then just some more adjustments there. And same thing, 2 filters for high and low cuts. And then the fat effects to glue it all together. And then this last guy was another patch. This might have been an atmosphere patch, but I just printed it to audio. This is like a really it's like a mosquito type layer. It's like really hissy, really annoying, but it just gives a little bit of that air. And it's like it's like distorted aggressive air, which is kind of what I like. I like airy sounding stuff, but I also like things that have an edge to them. So I try to always include that little bit of that edge if possible. That's kind of what I'm doing here. So it's not just like a clean white noise. Like I could achieve something similar by just doing a white noise in there, right? But instead went with that. This, I don't think, yeah, this isn't even being used. I'm just going to go ahead and take that out. And then this is like to create some space, because these chords, if you listen, the chord stacks are very dry. Ooh. This is the problem. I'm running into it again.
No.
Okay, so we're going to try one more time. And if it's, the next time it quits on us, maybe we'll call it and go to a part 2 if you're down for that.
I'm very down, very down.
Okay, so we'll try one more time. And we'll let the fate of the DAW, you know, we'll let them decide our fate. I'm excited for when I get to break down tracks in live or in Ableton, because then I don't have to keep reopening things.
Yes. Have you, dude, we need to actually, since you've been in Ableton, like outside of the stream, like I want to talk some more about some like new things you found in it that you love, or
Absolutely
some kits, or like I don't know, there's like, dude, the one thing that they have, like, what's really cool is how they have like the Max for Live like plug it. Like it's just nice that like people can essentially just make their own plug. Like you know
Yep.
how there's like all these like different aftermarket things you can add. I have the one thing that I haven't. They have a pitch drop one, but there's nothing that is as clean as a Logic one I've found. Like how like you know how you can do fade into slow down.
Oh, you
Like
mean
in
like
Logic?
the fades like on the clips themselves?
Yeah, but like you know like because you can't turn them into slowdowns in Ableton. Like there's like a plugin that you can use to like do that, but I don't like the sound of it as much as as the Logic one personally.
I agree. You can do a pitch drop on the clips in Ableton, like on the regions.
Yes.
Like there's a way to do it. I'm saying on the region without using a plugin.
Oh,
yeah, I'll show you. I'll show you. It's not as it's not as simple. Like Logic, you just create the fade. Like all your white fades that are on your project, like you could just, like you said, change those to pitch downs. But in Ableton, it's not that simple. You have to go into a separate window, but I'll show you. You can automate the pitch down as well on the clip or on the region.
Interesting.
But that's like one of the things that I do prefer Logic for. Like it's a lot faster to do that. All right, we are back up. I'm going to share my screen again. You know, if my DAW didn't keep crashing, this would actually not be that bad of a setup.
It's actually, I feel like it's actually worked out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's worked besides this little.
We get a couple little choppy audio stuff, but it sounds like. And all good. Genseo, welcome. And this is going to be on VOD, don't worry. Kyle and I are probably going to go just for a little bit longer. I think we're going to end up doing a part 2 just because it ended up taking us a little longer to get through this than we expected. But yeah, let's just get through this drop and see what we got. I wanted to show this chord stack real quick.
Give me some good.
Let's see. Let's go. There we go. So yeah, as you'll see, like very dry chords on this. Like absolutely dry, which is how I do my super saws. They sound a lot bigger in the mix because I do these little tricks where there's actually no reverb playing while the super saw plays. So it's easier to mix, but then I do a reverb throw when it goes off. So it's kind of like the same idea as what you were talking about before, where you're sidechaining the reverb to the sound, or to the original signal. But instead, I'm just doing it in audio, and I'm like completely. It's like a really harsh sidechain where it completely cuts the reverb off when the signal's playing. So then I have this little reverb throw here. So normally the way I would do that is I would just throw reverb on this stack and then bounce to audio. But what I thought was kind of cool, and I tried to do something a little bit more unique here, is this reverb comes from a horn sample, I think.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. It's cool.
Yeah, so I wanted to give some kind of weird tonal character to the reverb itself so that it sounded more unique instead of just having a reverb throw on the chords.
Yeah, and I don't know if you meant to do it, but it's very similar to the like the way I sing ooh, like it feels like that could almost have been a vocal. Like it's really cool. So
the tonality wasn't really, I think that was more of just something I did on feeling. It wasn't like super thought out. But the rhythm,
really cool how it ended up with that. The
rhythm was definitely intentional. Like when I'm doing a lot of my productions, like I'll do something instrumental, send it to the vocalist, and then I will normally play off the vocal quite a bit, like off the vocal rhythm. And I feel like that's a really good way to get the instrumental and the vocal to glue together, is to make sure that those rhythms play off of each other. So this chord rhythm is very much based on this good, like the good news that you did, like that kind of like stutter. It's kind of what inspired some of it. And then leads, take out these. Ooh. These guys real quick, just gonna play leads. Quite a bit of stack on the leads. I wouldn't normally do this many layers now, honestly, but here we are. So those are pretty low pass. I think that's I think it's intentional. Let me see. I think I have something else playing.
I think it's intentional. That's the story of my life.
Well, it's like, I mean, you know how it goes. Like, I don't know. Like,
Totally, yeah.
but I think I have something else supposed to be playing over top of it. I think your vocal's playing over top. Oh, never mind. So then a much earlier version of this song, this melody was quite different. And it actually was a lot like, I guess, catchier or like more rudimentary is the best way I'd put it. But I changed it to kind of fit more, almost like mirror a little bit more of what your vocal melody is doing, and to have more of a sustained feel to it so that it has more open, wide open emotion sounding almost. And I just felt like it was more, I mean, I said it earlier to you when we were talking, but it feels more mature to me as opposed to like having a very strict melody that counters your melody almost, you know?
Yeah.
And then in terms of the
is there a vocal chop? Is there like a vocal chop in there too?
There is, and that's actually what this guy's doing. And I'll get to that in a minute because that is its own. I remember playing around with that for a while. But I got this layer. Let's see. So very harsh on its own, but it's like it really helps it cut through the mix, especially sitting in those saws. This is very simple. Like it's just basically a saw wave and a little bit of low pass filtering, and then some. So I do like this reverb. A lot of people do this, but you do like a reverb trick where you throw the amp envelope on the mix so that the reverb is only playing while the lead is playing. So it's the inverse of that sidechain reverb effect. So instead of the reverb being off while the lead plays, it's on while the lead plays and turns off when the lead turns off. And what it does is it gives space to the well, it doesn't really give space, but it more like helps the lead sit in the mix, because if I turn this off, it's very harsh and it just like cuts through too much. And I put this on and it's kind of like, it's almost like doing a detune. Yeah, it softens it up and kind of helps it sit in the mix a bit more. And then processing on that, pretty standard stuff, like cutting out a lot of the lows. I'm leaving a lot of room for the chords and stuff. Tons of OTT, more cut on the lows because OTT will bring those lows back up. Some reverb that I'm automating the mix now, but I'll throw that every now and then just to kind of as an effect. And then a little bit of exciter and some grit and compression. That and the overall processing is very similar on all these channels in terms of like what I'm doing. It's just EQ moves, compression, some OTT. And in this patch, so something that just complements another saw wave, but just more complementary to this guy. I have this little BX console in here, which I use this a lot more now, but it's a really good analog emulation for the like the SSL series mixing boards. But this thing sounds really good. I didn't really need to put it on that channel, but I did anyways. And then another layer. That's printing the reverb of one of these guys. I just did it full wet, printed it out, and then I just EQ'd that reverb even more to kind of create a little bit more tone out of it. That just gives me more control of the space. Another layer. There's a vocal chop layer. Yeah, and this is just some, I think this is an ESW preset. It is.
Is that Evoxa? Do you ever use that?
I haven't used it. That's a contact thing he did, right?
Yeah, I've used it in one song for the stick, but I like something happened where like sometimes, dude, it's so easy for contact libraries just to like not just to get whatever, they can't find the files. I feel like that always happens to me.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was it's sick. It's pretty sick actually.
I think one of my homies had used it in a session once, but I'd never like used it myself. Like,
yeah,
it seemed cool, but And then yeah, processing on this guy, like, I mean, there's not really much here. It's like I said before, I think there's a little bit of space with the chroma verb. It just kind of gives it some room, but just a little bit of space. And that's I mean, it's a really harsh sounding reverb, actually. Like, it has a lot of nasty, like, metallic echo right in this area. But it just kind of worked for the tone, what needed in that layer. This guy is the same thing, but I think it's an alt version. So, and the alt version means that it's just a different formant shift on the, so all of that is copied over except the format's different. So I could have easily just automated the format knob and put that in there, but
I always make a new track. I'm like, I don't want to freaking automate it.
Yeah, and since my PC can handle this stuff, I end up doing a lot of things that you shouldn't do like that, but whatever. And then, so that's kind of like, this is kind of like the call melody almost, and it still kind of plays over the response melody, but this is more forefront for the response melody, I believe, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So this was weird. This came from some part of your vocal, and I like, this is like 4 tracks later. I bounced this to audio probably 4, maybe even 5 times, and did so much different. No way. Yeah, I did so much different processing on this. It was ridiculous, and it's like mad fat, as you can see. Yeah, completely squashed. But so this is the, like, the very final bit where I'm just touching it up. This is me actually doing a little bit of mid-side EQ in Logic. I didn't know if you could do that, or if you didn't know if you could do that, you can. So that's just kind of doing that, and then tighten that up a bit, and then just a little bit. I find the platinum compressor on this is really good for like a polish, just to kind of kind of polish something off without giving it too much push, or like potentially oversaturating or whatever. Like if you do the opto, it's gonna like really push it, but the platinum is nice and clean sounding, even though this is not a clean sound. So that's what that is. And this is the other one. It's similar but different processing. But yeah, like on its own, it's really weird and kind of like super digital sounding, but you know, just in the mix, especially with these chords and like the bass and everything, it just kind of works. So and it just kind of has another layer on top of these guys here. And then on top of all that, there's guitar, if I remember correctly. Yep, there's guitar playing buried in there. That's what this guy sounds like. Very wonky sounding guitar right here. But it's like, if I remember, so this is, all right, this is full disclosure. I was very lazy on this part. So this part I played, and this part I cut the notes from something else and like some other take I took and literally just put them together. So that's why it sounds disjointed.
Sounds awesome.
But yeah, so I do all, I mean, you can see all the detail we put in this song. Like, it's okay to get lazy every now and then. If it works, it works.
Sounds awesome.
And then on top of that, there's side guitar on the second half of the drop. And then I'll just play those two together real quick. Second half of the drop, in terms of like the chords and the leads, they're doing pretty much the same thing. There's nothing really changing here. There's this little fill here, but it's similar processing as this guy. It's just melodically a little different. But this is where the side guitar comes in for the second half. And that's the side guitar. So, you know, just kind of throwing in a little bit more rhythm and stuff, because why not? I feel like I needed it. But yeah, this song is a really good example of like how you just keep adding and adding and adding until I guess it just sounds good. And then you got Kyle's vocals sitting on top of that. Let's see. My bad. Oh, and I think that's gonna call it. That's all right. That was pretty much the drop.
Yeah.
I played.
I guess the thing we didn't get is the drums, but
Yeah, so the drums are pretty simple, but I'm not gonna. We'll call it here for tonight.
yeah.
If you guys want to see a part 2, we can do that. I can go more into the drums. And then we can potentially go into the second half here. I know there's an extended pre on the second half of the song.
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
Dope.
before we hop
Dude,
off,
so
does anyone have any like questions? No, yeah, dude. Big thanks for coming through on this. Like,
Yeah, it's so much more. It's so much fun to do it with like other people. I mean, it's nice to do it like, and then you can talk to people in the chat. But it's fun to kind of do it like this too.
it really
Those
is.
streams are rad.
It's so refreshing just to be able to like bounce. Like, I mean, because I learned some stuff that you were doing as well. Like, I just like, oh, that's pretty cool. He's doing that.
Yeah, no, same. And I love like even thanks for answering my questions and stuff too. Like I was learning some stuff too, so it's really cool.
Yeah, no, I definitely digging the co-stream. We got the setup.
Let's go.
So we got Oscar, or not Oscar actually, sorry, is saying he definitely wants to see a part 2. So I think we can make that happen. Kyle,
I'm down.
all right, Kyle's down. We're in.
I'm down.
I
Johnny
think
be good.
we'll probably shoot. When works for you? Like maybe next week or?
Yeah, I mean Monday. Right now, Monday evenings is like in my like on my calendar, my schedule is like production breakdown. So
Perfect.
yeah, let me make sure I don't have. But yeah, I mean we can also figure it out outside here. But
I can do so. I normally do Tuesdays and Thursdays, but I'm cool with moving my Tuesday stream to Monday evening to do this.
okay, I could also actually I could do next Tuesday. Well, yeah, we can figure it out. But yeah, I could probably do next Tuesday. So
Dope. So, what we're gonna do is, I think we're gonna hop off here, but we're gonna do a part 2. We're probably gonna do that next week, either Monday or Tuesday. We'll figure it out. And then in the meantime, though, I plan on putting this up on YouTube on video on demand or however. Is that cool with you, Kyle?
yeah, it's totally cool with me.
Dope. And I'm sure it'll probably be up on your Twitch as well, right?
Yep.
Okay. Cool. So we're good there. If you guys want to check the stream out after the fact, it'll be up on both of our channels, so feel free to come through on that. Tanner, am I a fan of Aries? Absolutely, I'm a fan of Aries. Sorry, I saw your comment earlier. I didn't respond to it. The Aries Conversations remix. Definitely going to do a breakdown of that. Probably in a couple weeks, though. I may not do it after this one. I have another one I think I'm going to do first, but I'm going to do, if you're in my Discord, make sure, if you're not in my Discord, make sure to hop in that, because I'll probably do a poll and we can vote on, I'll have everyone vote on which one they want to see next. But I know that's one of the ones people have been wanting to see, so for sure we'll get into that one. Cool. Kyle, was there anything else you wanted to kind of add in?
No, I think covered it, and yeah, good hanging, and yeah, we'll do it again next week.
Thanks, man, for sure. For sure.
Awesome. Well, I hope you guys all enjoy the rest of your week. If found, you're the freaking man, and yeah, let's do it again soon.
All right, man. You guys take it easy. Thanks for joining.
Later.
Peace.
Yo.